right, we are back out here in the Montana garage after a little hiatus. Went on a little hunting trip, and then I've been doing some other stuff the last couple days since I got home. But today I had a little package show up, so let me go grab it. Should have prepared a little better for this probably, but here's the package, and it is from FiTech. So FiTech has returned. I haven't heard anything from FiTech other than a couple days ago I got an email that said they were shipping it back, and there was an invoice, which I'm sure will probably be in here too, that just said, you know, $0 is what I owe, but that they replaced the ECU and something else that I can't remember. So let's take a peek and see what we get, or what you get when you get a warranty return from FiTech. Boxed up pretty good. So basically in a whole new box. So whether it's the same one or a new one, I'm guessing it's probably the same one. It just says what they received from me. Looks like it must be the same one. I mean, it smells like gas. Looks a little dirty, so I don't think it's a brand new dealy bobber or anything. Remote mount fuse relay panel. Okay, that's new, so something different we got to do. So supposedly they replaced the ECU, and it looks like they replaced all my heat tubing on there too, because some of that was a little frayed up, and that looks all brand new. Somewhere we should have, yep, we got the controller. Whether it's new or the same one, still has the plastic on it, but so did the one I sent them. This looks like maybe the old wiring, the old stuff. I think this is this remote throttle body EFI remote mount fuse and relay panel, so we'll have to read some instructions about that. And that is it. So there's no invoice in here, but like I said, the invoice just said that they replaced the ECU. And there was some other little thing that was like a $20 charge that they subtracted, but they replaced something else too, some other little sensor or something. All right, so I guess that's all we got. I don't have time to do this tonight, but next time we come back, we'll be putting this bad boy back on the 57. Well, getting ready to put the FiTech back on this thing, so figured I might as well bring you guys along for a ride before I tear it apart, because, you know, how good my luck is, it might never drive again after this. Hopefully all that will go well. Anyways, I'm just cruising into town. There's a little car show in our little, we got our little town, that's a little fall festival it's called, so there's a car show, and I was busy this morning and it's probably almost over, so some cars might already be gone, but we're gonna cruise into town and check it out. You guys see anything from up there? So this carburetor that I put on there, I was having problems with it, like some sort of vacuum leak, and it was idling too high, and then it just started working, and now it's idling high again, so I haven't really messed with it because it still drives, and I know I'm putting the FiTech back on, so I just kind of been letting it roll, but I can only get it to idle down to like 1100 or something. So some sort of vacuum leak still. I don't know if you can see that. There's a deer in the shade of my neighbor's house right there. We get all kinds of deer coming in the neighborhood. Usually at night. Kind of weird to see one in there in the middle of the day. So this is our little town. So there's like it's called the Fall Festival going on. So I'll see. I don't know if the main street's going to be closed up here still. Looks like somebody just went through there. So car show's supposed to be going on for like another hour, but I'll see. Hopefully it's kind of calmed down. There's not a million people. You can't even usually, like, I wouldn't be able to park anywhere right here. You have to walk forever to get there. So looks like it's clearing out a little bit, and maybe we can just kind of drive up to it. sign right there says no parking, fire department only. There's a fire department across the street, but it's actually not even used anymore, so I'm gonna risk it. Shop boss is here. Everybody be on your best behavior. So I was just looking through here a little bit yesterday, actually. There's this new throttle body EFI remote mount fuse and relay panel. So this was new, or this is different than when I sent it in. So it's something they've changed. So it's a little bit different to wire it. I guess it's still basically the same, just a couple things plug into this and you got to change a couple things. But I thought they had just given me my old wiring back and all the new wiring was here, and this is the old wiring, but I still need to use this. So hopefully, you know, all the wires that I had to cut to disassemble it are all still going to be long enough. We'll have to put some new ends on those, obviously. And hopefully we can get this figured out. I've been driving this little thing a little bit. Hopefully at the beginning of this video there's a little bit of driving footage. And it's been running pretty good. It has a little bit of a bog in it, and that was carburetor tuning, and I haven't messed with it because I knew it was coming back off. So I think I have everything I need, with the exception of once I take the carburetor off, I may run to town and get a couple new gaskets. Probably could reuse them, but I just want to make sure I don't have any kind of vacuum leaks or anything. You might be wondering, what's this fancy setup here all about? Spark plug wire plugged into itself. Well, you see the yellow wire. This wire was all the tape. It was the spark plug boot doesn't fit in there right. It needs to have a 90 on it, and so that one rubs the header. And when I was kind of just troubleshooting, trying to figure out why it wasn't running, I took that. I replaced it with that one, just in case this was causing some sort of mess. I didn't want to cut it out of there, so I just did that. I went for a drive the other day and I opened the hood to check the oil, and I saw this sticking out from the side of the carburetor. I'm like, what the heck? I couldn't remember that that's what I did, and I was like, why is that spark plug wire not plugged in? Why wasn't it running bad? But that's what that's all about. So I might see if I got some old plug wires anywhere that have a 90-degree boot on, or maybe I can just steal the boot off of this one, even though it's a little different, and then that way I can just put that other wire back on there. Well, I thought gaskets were cheap. 12 bucks a piece for these dang things. Really? Guess you gotta have them. Alright, so here's the, not the new FiTech, but the replaced FiTech. Alright, we're all gasketed up. And like I said, I think this should fit on these outside holes. It was on the inside holes before, but there's no reason why I can't use those holes, right? So I said this in another video, but they did replace the ECU in the FiTech, and then obviously that comes with all these new, all this wiring is, you know, been replaced. I think it's all just connected to the computer when they replaced it. It comes with a new harness. I spent forever yesterday looking for this little guy. I know I say that's probably in the same place this was. Blue and white. White's the famous white wire that's got to have this close to 12 volts at cranking and at run. Blue goes to the tack, or not the tack, the coil, negative of the coil. I'll check all this stuff out again. It's black wire. I had from here to here, so it's still long enough. I can clip this off. Some people say you don't need this if you got all your other grounds right, but I don't see how it hurts. And this is something that they recommended. There's probably a torque spec for these. I just go to, you know, pretty tight. This is an aluminum intake, so you can't really wrench on it. I'll just strip that out. Try to tighten them down evenly. Call that. Now, hoping my linkage setup that I did for the other thing is going to work. Let's see, I can't remember how we had the vacuum ports. Got a couple small ones. There's a couple big ones. So I need a bigger hose and a T to fit it on. Alright, I gotta go find some pieces and parts. So obviously I should have figured this out before I went to town. So I might have to go back to figure out some vacuum hose issues. Put that bigger hose there, that can go there, then I need to either cap that or run it to there, and then I need a cap for that, and then where does the Dizzy go? Oh, and I found my fuel fitting. Guess we're gonna have to consult the instructions. Look at there, I'm even using the instructions. I'm learning. I don't know how many other 57 Chevy guys are out there. I guess maybe it's the same with a 55, 56, or other cars too, I'm sure, but I guess I'm used to working on my other 57 Chevy and there was no hood on it, and I haven't worked on my 55, you know, like with an engine and a hood for so long. I don't remember. I don't know if you guys can even see me, but I don't know how many times I've hit my head on this damn hood latch already. It's like you think you're underneath this because you can, you know, you're underneath that, and then whack. One of these days I'll figure it out, hopefully, but so far it's not. I'm not figuring it out real fast. Didn't hit it that time. So I think I got all the vacuum ports hooked up. Got the distributor. Now I know there's ported and unported vacuum on here. And I used to always hook my distributor up to like a ported vacuum, and I guess then it only opens up above idle or something. But what I've been reading lately says a lot of people say it's better to hook it up to unported, so it's just always on. So the FiTech says to hook it up, you know, they have a ported, where does it say it? Use this 3/16 nipple for ported vacuum, and it says parentheses distributor advance. I went ahead and hooked mine up to the unported vacuum, so I can always switch it if it seems like it makes a difference with the fuel injection. With the carburetors, I've been going with the unported vacuum. So got the transmission like modulator thing hooked into this T, and then that goes up to the vacuum wipers, which don't seem to work anyways, but either that or I just had to plug it, so I just put a hose on there. I got one big port plugged, and then this vacuum port here just connects to the other one, so they're basically plugged. This thing doesn't have PVC or PCV, positive crankcase ventilation, in the valve covers. It's got a little thingamabobber back here, a little canister back there, and before Dan had that hooked up to one of these, and that's probably fine, but I did that with the carburetor application, and it had a vacuum leak. It was sucking too much vacuum because it just sucks through that thing or something. With my 327 and my 55, I always just had it vented to the atmosphere, so that's how I'm going to run this one. Force fuel command center is hooked back up. So I'm starting to figure out the wiring. It comes with this new, Look at that, I lost pieces already somewhere. This new little fuse block here. So I'm going to mount that right there. When the battery's in here, it fits in there. And then all the wires, most of the wires come off of this. So I'm going to try to route them down, crossed over here, and then maybe tie them to this heater hose like that. White wire, that's the one that's got to have 12 volts. It's going to go back to the positive of the coil. And it'd be easier to just route this blue wire with that because it goes to the negative of the coil. But they say to try to route this separate, or they don't say that, but once you start troubleshooting, it can get RPM noise if this is next to the white wire or other hot wires. So I'm going to route this one completely separate up around. Might not look as good, but hopefully it'll work. So I used to always solder all my connections, but I don't know, everybody's got an argument whether you should or you shouldn't, but I kind of switched over to just using uninsulated terminals, shrink wrap, or heat shrink, and then I got one of these crimpers that put a really good crimp in it. You see how these uninsulated terminals usually have like a splice in it, or where they come together. I usually put that in the back side of the crimpers. Crimper down real tight. Here's my fire device. And there you have it. And if you run out of uninsulated terminals, and all you got is these insulated ones, you can usually get them off of there, and then you got yourself an uninsulated one. We're getting close. I gotta clean up all my porcupine zip ties. I just kind of want to make sure everything works in case I gotta make some adjustments. I don't have them all super tight yet. Got the temperature sensor in. Lost a little bit of antifreeze, but not too bad. Let's see what else. So we ran the controller wire in. Got the white wire going to the positive of the coil. Now, a lot of guys gave me grief for that before because I guess in the book it says hook it to the ignition, but it's really the same thing. It goes to the ignition, then it comes out to the coil. And in the instructions it actually says, let's see if I can find it here. White on off, connect this wire to switch 12 volt circuit, must be on during both key on and cranking. Do not connect to the coil terminal when using an external CDI box. I am not using an external CDI box, so to me it means I can connect it to the coil. And like I said, it's sort of the same as having it connected to the ignition, because if you're connected to the ignition, it's just like, you know what I mean, it just goes to one more spot and then back to the coil. So what difference does it make? Anyways, we'll find out if it works, I guess. So about the only thing I have left to do is I have to crawl underneath and hook up the O2 sensor. I think I have everything hooked up. Oh, except for the battery. Guess I gotta hook up the battery still. All right, so obviously they've like updated the computer and it's different than my instructions. You're supposed to select 2-wire VR plus coil, and I select TAC, but it doesn't even give me that option to select that. So, and you're supposed to be able to disable the fan. It doesn't let me do that. But I did everything else on here. So, guess we're ready to turn the key and see if anything happens. Got my little screen here. You guys can't see it. It says we got 12 volts before we crank. Let's see what it says when we crank. Well, it fired. It never did that last time. We have an RPM signal. Let's trying to start. I better go look for leaks. Got some antifreeze in here, but that's from when I took this out. No fuel around there. No fuel around there, so that's the only things that should be leaking, or could really leak, I guess. So. I guess she works. Like I said, now I got to figure out. I had to change a bunch of the settings before to get it to run right. It's supposed to be self-learning, but I'll have to look some more information up on it and see how much time I want to give to self-learn, or if I need to go in and start playing with stuff. But so far so good, I guess. All right, so I guess it says the engine has to reach 130 degrees for the self-learning feature to take effect and start dialing in your system. You'll not even know this is happening, but you can see it by looking at the trim and learn values. So I'm only at 104, so I guess I gotta let it get warm, and then maybe it'll make some changes where it'll start up a little easier. Well, now that all that seems like it's working, I don't think my alternator is charging. Dang it. Alright, well, the FiTech seems like it's working. It starts right up. However, the alternator's not working. The wiring is kind of a jumbled mess, but obviously we got 12 volts from the battery. This goes into the ignition. This is like the wire that goes to the idiot light, and near as I can tell, it goes to a little light in here. It's kind of a jumbled mess under there, but I tracked it down best I could. I think it's that light right there, so it should come on with the key on, and then it should go away when when it's started. I'm not getting any voltage, anything above battery voltage off the alternator. I've also always heard that these are supposed to be like magnetized back here, and it's not magnetized when it's running. So I guess I got to take this off and take it and get it tested. I've already switched the alternator once. The alternator was on here when I got it, was working, and then it quit working. So this is just one I had laying around, and it was working, and now it quit working also. So it seems kind of odd, but I'll take them both in and get them tested and make sure that's what's going on. I guess that way I'll know if it's that or a wiring issue. I got one more day that I don't have to work tomorrow, so hopefully if it's nice out, I can get that straight figured out. We can get this all buttoned back up and go for cruise. Okay, it's next day. I'm back out here in the Montana garage. Should be working, but whatever. A guy can do that whenever, right? Trying to get this 57 wrapped up. Yesterday where I left off, had the FiTech installed and working goodish. I mean, needs some tuning, but it starts, it runs. But I noticed the alternator wasn't charging, or noticed low voltage on the dashboard, so did some checky. Alternator wasn't charging, so no big deal. Alternator is easy to fix. Took it into town this morning, had it tested just to verify. Yep, she was no good. Got a different one. All I had was the one wire alternator. I've never used one of those, so I got one of those. It seems easy enough, but I did a little research. It seems like a lot of people don't like those, but hopefully it'll work. But my problem is the way the alternator is mounted. This little tab here, just got back from running around, but this sits over the header like so, and Obviously that little ear is broken. Not that one, that one. Which, it was already broken like that. But you know, then the header bolt goes in there and tightens it up. But by the time the header bolt goes through the header and then through this thing, it only grabs with a couple threads. And I was putting the alternator on and I noticed it was just kind of pulling forward, so it wasn't getting tight down there. So I tried to snug it up a little bit, and sure enough, it just stripped out that thread. But it's not totally stripped. I mean, if I put this bolt in here without the brackets in the way, it grabs some good threads and then it tightens down. But with this stuff in the way, it won't tighten down, so I found a longer bolt. So get a little bit longer bolt in there and then it'll work. And I should probably try to fix this or get it home, but should be able to get it tight for now. But the longer bolt won't go in the hole because of the header interference. I tried loosening it up and pulling them back as far as I can. It can only pull back so far because then it hits there. And so, yeah, I can't get the longer header bolt in the hole. So I'm gonna have to either dimple the header tube more. It's already flattened out there to allow the shorter one to go in. Or I'm gonna have to try to figure out some other way to get this alternator mounted on there. I could cut this. I should have took the alternator off first so it was easier to show. I could cut this tab flat so it was just a hair above the hole, and maybe just drill and tap this and just mount it to the header flange. I think that probably wouldn't be that bad. I just don't know if I have enough room to, you know, get a drill in there and drill a hole right there. You know, and then use a shorter bolt and just mount that bracket to the header flange, and then I can use the regular header bolt, which will still go in the hole, and without that bracket in the way, it'll grab threads and it'll get tight. To me, it's either that or cut this off and maybe put a couple little tack welds and weld this bracket to the header. I don't really want to do that because I don't know if these headers have to come out the top or up or out the bottom. I guess if it was just a tack weld, you could grind it back off there. So that's something I might hold it up there and look at that. But I don't know if anybody knows anybody to remove like a hex or a voodoo curse or black magic. This car is obviously cursed, and everything I touch falls apart or something else falls apart. And again, I'm not complaining. It's not because of this car. It's just my luck. Man, I can't catch a break here. So let me spend, I have some sort of homemade setup like this for my 55 in there. I'm gonna go dig that out and see if it happens to be any different. It's probably even thicker, so it's probably not gonna work because of the way that header is, but let me go see what I can find. All right, well, I think I have decided, probably not the right answer. I think I'm just gonna put a couple little tack welds right there and tack this bracket right to the header flange. I wanted to drill a hole right here, and then I could tap the header flange and then just you know, attach it to the header flange, but there's just not enough room. Can't show you all this stuff and try to camera film it, but I don't have enough room to get a socket in there where if I was going to drill another hole up higher, there just wouldn't really be any way to tighten it. I don't know, I mean, I guess maybe if I use like an Allen head bolt maybe and a long Allen wrench. But the other thing is I don't think I can get my drill in there to drill it out, and I don't want to take the freaking header off. I mean, that's probably the right thing to do, would be to mark this up, take the header off, figure out a way to drill and tap a hole in there. But like I said, the easy way to do it is put a couple tack welds on there. This one silver, or it's actually pitted up chrome piece, will end up being welded to the header flange. And the only issue I'm going to see with that is there shouldn't really be any adjustment issue because this bracket adjusts onto that bracket. Like if this is stationary, I can still move this piece. And the only problem I'm going to see is being able to get the header out of there. In which case, like, I could find a way to cut this apart if you had to. So I'm going to take this off of here, wire wheel everything up real good, do a little bzz, bzz with the welder and hope for the best. So I'm going to cut this broken part off. I'll just cut it square up here, and then that'll allow me to still get a header bolt in there. I can still use the shorter header bolt because it won't have to tighten onto this any longer, and then it'll grab threads and get tight. So this should solve my problem. I don't know about welding to this chrome, but I'm going to grind it off anyways probably first. So. Alright, so I should be able to just get a couple little tack, maybe like a tack weld there and a tack weld there, and hopefully I can burn it in good and hot, and that will be good enough to hold it, and then that way I can maybe even grind it back out of there if I need to. Maybe. So let's tighten up what we can. Like I said, I can get a bolt in here now. Alright, so those are tight. I didn't put this one in yet because that one's going to still bolt to the... I guess I can put it in now. So we'll be bolted. And hopefully I can get it started because I tightened everything up and it did start, so that's good. So it bolts on the front, but the one bolt just isn't enough to hold it. It torques. Alright, so you can see as I'm tightening that, see it pulls this part away. So I'm going to try to tighten it and then see if I can clamp it back. I might have to leave this one loose to be able to clamp it tight. So that's tight. Let's see how it just rocks forward still. So now I'm going to grab a clamp. Alright, so now it clamped it in there. Guess what's hard for me to tell is if that's how I'm going to want it. Make sure it's not, you know, tilted up or downage. Try to keep the same reveal, I guess, on it. That's all I'll do. Alright, well, I guess that's what we're going to go with. I'll see, make sure I can get a welder in there, and we'll do a quick little bzz, bzz, and then hope and pray. Threw a towel up there, at least cover up with some stuff. It'll probably just start on fire and then start everything else on fire. Then I couldn't see, so I went and grabbed couldn't find my regular light, so I had to go find my other light. Now I just threw that in the oil, so let me clip that off of there. I'm sure there's lots of you out there thinking this is a bad idea. It probably is, but it'll work for now, hopefully. Alright, let's see what happens here. Couldn't really get in there very good, but that looked like it actually kind of welded it. I might try to do one down on the side down here too. Buzzy, buzzy. Take the clamp off. It'll probably just pop right back off there. Better not. All right, so we have 2 little welds welding this bracket to the header flange, and hopefully that's gonna do the trick. All right, tight. This is done, hopefully moving around. So a couple of you guys commented about my alternator kind of wiggling around before, and that's why, because I couldn't get that tight. So hopefully that'll fix that. All right, so before I had a ginormous space right here, and now it's just, you know, less than a 1/4 inch, so I should just be able to suck that up. It'll be close enough. I might put a washer in there or something. But if I look at the belt, it looks like to me it's coming and go whoop. So I need to move the alternator forward. So I should be able to do that by adjusting the orange bracket on the silver bracket. All right, I already tapped her a little forward. I think she needs to go a little more. All right, so I moved it forward quite a bit. It still looks the same. I almost think the alternator is like kicked that way a little bit, and I need to kick it this way. I don't know, still looks a little goofy, but we'll try that right there. Almost seems like it needs to clock that way a little bit more. I guess I could put another, took a washer out of the front, I could put a washer in the back. I think we'll leave it, we'll tighten her up like that and see what it looks like when she's running. Got the battery hooked back up. See what happens when we push the yellow button. Looks like it's charging based on the FiTech voltage reading. So we got 14.2-ish. Alternator looks a little more sturdy. Belt may not be perfectly straight, but it looks alright, I guess. So we still have FiTech tuning and stuff to do, but basically I think everything's working now. Oh, I was going to clip all these zip ties, so I'll do that later. Letting her run and warm up. It's got to get up to, can't remember what it said, like 160. Don't quote me on that. There's some temperature it's got to get to before the FiTech will start learning. So I'm letting it idle while I clean up, and then we'll go for a buzzer on the block and see how she runs. All right, it's the next day. My GoPro batteries died when I tried to go for the cruise yesterday, so I just got home from work, and let's see if we can get a little drive in to end this video with. So it's not super cold, but it's, I don't know, 45 degrees maybe. So let's see how she does on a cold start. Didn't touch the gas. So, you know, not bad. We'll let her warm up for a second and we'll go for a little cruisy cruise. All right, I let her warm up for a few minutes. Well, I was trying to find a way to hang the little computer screen up. Kind of got something temporary there. It'll probably fall off right away. I did go for a drive yesterday after I got done working on everything. Like I say, my battery on the GoPro was dead, so I didn't get to film it. And it ran pretty good. I messed around with the, you can change a bunch of things on this thing obviously with some tuning, and I messed around with the, kind of hard to steer this thing when warm. Messed around with the Excel pump. There's like an Excel pump and a quick Excel or something like that. I figured out how to adjust the IAC steps, so I think I have that where it needs to be, and I turned off, found out how to turn the fan selection to off. Otherwise you get like an error code because I don't have an electric fan, just running a, you know, a regular old manual fan. So seems like it's running pretty good. a big bog in it yesterday. Still probably isn't perfect, but I got a lot to learn about, you know, making adjustments on this thing. But I think she's running pretty good. I haven't had any issues with the starting. It says we got 14.3 volts, so alternator's charging. My little weld repair seems to have held. So so far so good. I'd still say, you know, it's not race car status. It's got a little bit of power. Nothing real crazy, but it's going to be a fun cruiser as long as we can keep, you know, keep the curse away and nothing else happens here real soon. We'll have snow on the roads before too much longer, so it'll probably get put away. Guess we better hit the button. Sounds like a race car, even if it's not one. Yeah, still a little bog. Got some fine tuning to do. So there you have it. This thing's rolling back down the road again. Hopefully, you know, no more issues with the FiTech. Big shout out and a thank you to FiTech for standing behind their product. You know, they stood behind it, they warrantied it, they got a quick turnaround for me. I've been reading horror stories about taking a long time for some people. It sounds like the guy I talked to said it kind of depends on which unit you have, so maybe mine is a more common one, or whatever reason they had the parts available. So I appreciate them, you know, getting it taken care of and getting it back to me so we can get some more miles on this thing before the snow flies. I also appreciate each and every one of you guys for watching. We recently, maybe a week or so ago, we hit 5,000 subscribers on the channel. I would have never in a million years thought I would get that many. So appreciate, you know, everybody who watches, likes, comments, tells a friend. You know, it's the only way this thing's gonna grow is if you know, you guys let people know about it. So I appreciate anybody who shares it. That's awesome. And we'll try to keep bringing some videos to you guys. The 57 delivered, the DD57 here that we're driving. I got a little list of things that we need to do. Seat belts, wiring. I don't know, there's a few other things. So it'll keep popping up on the channel here now and again. And eventually the two-door conversion, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards still. You guys can, I know there's some people out there that don't like that, but whatever. So I got to get work done on the 55 before I get around to this. We're going to leave this as driver status. And I'm going to still share it. I didn't get to do that this year, but hopefully it'll keep running next summer, spring and summer. This will be going to a few of my friends and some family members for them to enjoy. And then maybe this time next year, I'll have the 55 going and we'll chop a few doors out of this thing. Anyways, again, I appreciate everybody watching, commenting, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. Come back real soon. We'll get some more work done on that 55 probably.